everybody. It's Michelle LaVore and
Devin LaVore coming at you.
And we're so glad that you're here. And we just want to say welcome to everybody. And today we are going to be doing Act 1, Scene 38. And so...
Of our restoration play.
Yes, of the restoration play. And it really is just going to be kind of covering the end of the year and what that was like for us personally. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's wrapping it all up.
Mm-hmm. Did that transition into the new year as well?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So,
cool.
Yeah, kind of a slight spoiler alert, but this last week has been a lot about transition. And so you were talking about transitioning into the new year. So
gotcha.
That's part of what the Lord was doing over this last week. But also we want to give a huge thanks you to everyone who supports
Jesus
us.
Thanks you.
He does. He says thank you for being
really
the hands and feet of the body. And so we cannot do this without support. And so we just give a huge thank you to all of you. And it is just such a blessing to see how God just works through the body of Christ. And, we can share encouragement, but then we're also encouraged by just the blessing that God gives to us.
It really is a divine economy. Mm-hmm. There's a giving and a receiving of goods from the kingdom.
Exactly.
So don't get me going. I'll turn it into a video.
So huge thank you to all of you. And we are support-based, so if you would like to give to us, you can. We have a PayPal link below, and you can just click that.
Click it or tick it. No, I'm just kidding. It just pops into my head every once in a while. Every time you say click it. It is funny.
And
no, I'm not editing that part out.
So we're going to talk about this last week. Even
though we're filming this on Tuesday, you're not going to be watching it till Wednesday.
I know. It's just the way it works out right now. But
overlapping time frames.
Exactly.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Yeah. But no, so we pretty much when we last did our last episode, in the last episode with the LaVores, we were talking about how the Lord was really bringing us into this place of just sleeping. And it was just this really just felt place where God is like, this is what's going on. It's like you're being put to sleep, like the whole Adam being put to sleep, and God did a creative miracle and created Eve. And so we basically, once we finished actually filming that video, which was last Tuesday, it was a week ago, it was like the Lord transitioned into this new place. And so that's why I'm saying last week I really feel was just a week of different transitions. I felt like the Lord was speaking on...
Is that like the main theme?
Yeah, it was like, I'm speaking about being asleep and all of that. Okay, now this is what I want, here's what another thing I want you to do. And it just, you'll see as we talk that it was just like one transition after another. So Tuesday, we basically, Tuesday night, you were really feeling just this spirit to prophesy. We actually woke up that morning, we did this song Rattle. And
that was at the beginning of our restoration play, wasn't it?
It was. Right near the beginning, that song actually came out. For us, the restoration play started April 12th, 2020.
Before that, we were doing pre-production.
Yes.
We weren't ready to get on stage yet and say our lines. You know?
But the song Rattle came out, I think it was literally that week.
It was.
Because it was either that Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there, and the Lord was just like, hey, listen to this. And it was all about, the dry bones basically coming to life again. And so we were reading through Ezekiel 37, which is where the Lord has Ezekiel prophesy to the dry bones. And they come, and then all the flesh and everything starts to form on these dry bones. And then he tells him, prophesy again the breath and the spirit.
2 times.
And so on Tuesday, we really felt like God was saying, prophesy to the bones again. Prophesy the breath
Prophesy
and the
to the wind. Yeah.
And so we did that, and it was just this night of just, we were praying, and just we literally had the song rattle on. It was just on loop. And we were just praying whatever the Lord put on our heart. And I was really reminded of how just like that's how the Lord did anything. He just spoke to it, and it's like, let there be. And he said, let there be light, let there be everything that in all of creation. And
just speaking life to the promises, because
exactly.
we feel like that entire time that we were in the Comfort Inn, that was the bones and the flesh and everything. But then at the end of that, it was like there were just a bunch of dead bodies just laying there. You know what I mean? And it's like, now that that's all formed, prophesy again. And so that's what it was like. It was like we spent that whole time going through a dry bones. You can go through the teens section of our was the restoration play? No. Yeah, I mean, even there, I don't remember. But there was so much of that time there about, letting go of some things and then gathering other things that are even better and greater things. It was very much about that, right? That whole 6 months was just about that. And then we come to the new place, and it's just like, we're in the delivery room, et cetera, and everything that's been going on with these videos. And then it's just like, all right, prophesy again. This is the time to prophesy to the
dry bones.
Just the life that would go into everything that's been formed over the past several months. Right?
Yeah. And so basically that's what we did that night. And it was just amazing. It was just like, wow, just the Spirit of God was upon it. And, all of us were just praying for just that the Lord would just let there be life, and just going through all of the different things, all the different promises that the Lord has spoken to us. And so that was Tuesday. And then come Wednesday, for me personally, I entered into, and actually looking back at it over the last few days, it's not like it's been that long ago, but but basically Wednesday and Thursday, I was literally like harpooned with doubt. And
what a great what's it called? Example.
Yeah. And it went straight to my heart of just this doubt and wondering. And, when you look back at things, it's like, well, of course, we just had this time with the Lord where he's saying to prophesy life. So the enemy comes and it's like,
it was intense.
Like, no, awesome. There's going to be death. No, there's going to be, what do you think?
There's going to be disappointment.
And so the enemy, I mean, it hit so hard. Like, and I'm not going to go through every detail of what it was like, but just know, like, it was extremely difficult. And it hit me basically Wednesday and into Thursday. And it was one of those things where it was like, all right, I'm still trying to, it was very much like MMA or like fighting, where it's like somebody like gets basically knocked out, but they try and get up and they're just like falling all over the place, and they get hit again, and it's just like, I'm trying to get up. I'm trying
to recover. They don't know whether they're awake or they're dreaming.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got hit really hard, and it seems like there's the enemy really has been hitting a lot of people hard with just, hey, things aren't going to be the way that you think they're going to be, and just all of that, especially coming to the end, the daughters, and getting hit with the doubt, getting hit with the time frame of things. That for me is always mixed in together, and it's like, Lord, I thought you said this, that, and the other thing. I thought this, and so basically, even coming into the new year, it was I guess Thursday evening, New Year's Eve, that's when it was. And, it was like I felt like I got some, like, oh, I think I'm okay now. I'm kind of recovering. All right, I'm ready. We had actually a really awesome praise night that night where it was really awesome because actually our oldest, he kind of, we usually lead the God times, like Devin's in the morning, I'm in the evening. But that night it was kind of like our son, he just kind of took over and he was just like, we just need to worship and praise. And he kind of just continued it going. It was really awesome. I love it when the Lord does that. Yeah. And so we were just praising and worshiping. And, but then it was like late into the evening, like near the midnight hour, and it was just like I got hit so hard.
Late in the midnight hour, the devil tried to turn things around.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing here? No.
And it was
Bye.
like, man, this is like I can't shake it. And
it was intense.
It was very intense, but praise the Lord because He really came through. Because it was so intense, and when you're in that place of getting hit by the enemy, a lot of times you don't know what's up, what's down, your emotions can be just going like so intensely. It's just like there is no hope. There's no, and that's really what I was feeling, a lot of hopelessness and just like this is never going to end kind of things. And
it was an F5 tornado of hopelessness and just abandonment and just like, why are we even doing this? Why bother? Why, it's like, it was like really intense.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh, this is just the enemy. Like, what is just the enemy?
And I think and that's the thing, sometimes it's like when you're going through stuff, you don't recognize it as the enemy. But then once it was recognized, and I think that's really where things started to shift for me, it was like, okay, this is the enemy.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, like, calm down kind of thing, like, all right. And then God really was able to start, there was just a shifting in things, and so He was really able to minister to my heart and just brought out we call them exposure moments, because God brings things out so that you can have victory over them. So you can remove false ideas, false thoughts of Him, and or how you're processing or thinking things. And so for me, honestly, it ended up actually being, I think personally, like one of these, it was like for me, it was like a life-changing moment.
It was like one of the best nights of the entire year.
Yeah, one of the best breakthrough moments for me, because God really addressed, for me, just how I was feeling, how I'm processing things, because...
Well, in a deeply rooted way that you process suffering and pain and trial, and there's just a way that you do it. And God's like, how about we not do it that way?
Yeah.
How about we do it this way? Well, I don't want to, because, and all of that came out, and it was like God, and then so at the end of it, you saw that God was just like showing you, like, wow, I really don't have to do it that way.
Yeah.
I really can do it a different way, and there's hope, there's success on the horizon,
Yeah, and so it was just truly, I went from hopelessness to like, wow, I have hope, and then it just continued to grow, like. We went into New Year's Day and even into the Saturday and Sunday, and I just feel like the hope just continued to grow. Like, whoa, like what God has given me is really just this place in my heart where I can now start processing
He was
things
like,
so
happy
differently.
birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we were already into the first by that time, technically time frame wise, and her birthday's January 1st. So
it was like, happy birthday to you. It's like,
I'm going to set you free of something huge. Huge. You want a brand new car, or you want this deliverance? I'll take the deliverance, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was so awesome to just, and it really is just a processing thing. For me, a lot of times I internalize and I try and process with the Lord that way, but God really hasn't been meeting me in that place, and it's frustrated me.
Of internalization.
Of internalization. Yeah. He's like, I don't want to meet with you in the cave, because that's not the place where you're going to find where you're going to find me because I don't want you to be there. And I'm getting frustrated and feeling abandoned because I'm in my cave looking for the Lord and he's not there. And it's like, God's like, no, I want you to process out here, out in the open, out where, you have people who can help you and things like that. And God's like, that's how I'm going to meet with you right now. It's not to say that the Lord won't ever, I don't know. It's just.
Well, and by so doing, he's actually he's actually bringing more value and reinforcing the private times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just like God was just really showing me like, okay, we're going to really do things differently. And I haven't been abandoning you. I haven't been I'm not going to speak to you because, I just don't want to. The crazy things that your mind can think is true of the Lord in those moments.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, like God's just trying to teach me how to process things differently. And it truly was just an amazing breakthrough for me.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to describe because
really
it's so rich and so thick and creamy.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get into it. So we hope you guys are getting the gist of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was really phenomenally huge.
Yeah.
And it was like, just when you thought the year was over, here you go.
Yeah.
I've saved one. Now we were technically into the new year, but it's still the night of New Year's Eve. So
and
it's
I felt like it was just this wrap up. I don't know. It felt like it was this like final piece of what God really has been doing with my heart all year. Because for those who maybe have followed us for a while, but especially from the start of the restoration play, God has just been, well, even a little bit before that, but he has just been working on my heart so much and just everything about just, I think he's always working on the heart. But I feel like this year the intensity of the work has just been like,
oh, and that's interesting.
Above and beyond.
Because the number 38 has to do with the work of the Spirit. Also, yes, there's revelation of your destiny and the work that God has you to do, but it's also about the work of the heart, the authority of the Lord working in the inner chamber.
Yeah.
And that's really what he was doing this past week. And it's just, he culminated it. But it's like, this is only part of the week. Now, watch the rest of the week. What I mean? And so it's like that work of the Spirit inside to create an atmosphere where he can really now do what he wants to do and move the way he wants to move, which is what he's been doing the past 4 years anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's like, it's to this transition point where it's just like, ooh, now we're going to be able to go into this.
Yeah.
Whatever this is.
Yeah. And so it was just really awesome because God just brought that great breakthrough. And then, we went to bed and then we woke up in the morning and then God, once again, he's like, all right, it's, because for me personally, I was still kind of like, okay, it's going to be my birthday, the 2 days before, because of just all the chaos of getting hit by the enemy. It was just, I wasn't really looking forward to anything, but the Lord was just like, I'm going to take care of you. And he really did, because in that morning, he brought some more clarity. And it was to one of my other nemesis, which is the time frame. And it was just really awesome what God shared about the time frame. And I don't know if you want to just go ahead and
jump in with
share
that right now?
some of that, because I really feel like
incredible.
It will help so many people.
It was incredible.
If you're anyone who knows the Lord, you know that the time frame is going to get in there at some point.
That's the number one kick in the butt.
And so...
Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. I'm going to try to break it down, because when we did this for our God time, we had a little whiteboard and a chart and everything, and I was drawing and everything. I'm like, we're not going to be able to do that on the video. So we were trying to figure out, how can we do that on the video? We'll just talk about it. And so what I drew was like, I really felt like the Lord was really doing this, right? It was amazing. I was like, Lord, how come you couldn't have told us this a long time ago? But no, I'm just kidding. But you really start to recognize, I recognize then, like, well, that's the reason why. You don't teach a kid calculus when they're in elementary school.
No.
You just don't.
They're not ready for it.
You'll get there, but you got to build up to understanding why it took so long for you to get to this place. And not that you were doing anything wrong. There was nothing wrong done. God wasn't withholding. You weren't withholding. You weren't in sin. And all those things. It's just growth. You can't hurry up and grow, Well, like a lot of people, like the Lord, he prophesies a lots of things. And this is how... that morning, God was basically saying, listen, I need to show you guys how I see time. Right? And so on one line, we had like this ruler looking thing on the board. And it was like cut into sections. And it was like, so just write on this, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, so on and so on. But above it was this kind of wave called a God time. It was called God time, literally. That's what he called it. This is God time. And it wasn't sectioned off by specific dates, January 1st to December 31st. It just wasn't. It was sectioned off by, and then this happened. And then this is when Johnny D got saved. And this is when Sarah M turned in the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, and then this happened. And then so it's like our time is very numbers and linear and categorized. Whereas God's time is very relationship based. It's a relational time frame. Now God's all about precision and accuracy and perfection of measurements and all that stuff. But it's like when you're dealing with people inside of his will, it can get a little tricky. So therefore, you're going into 2020. It's like, Lord, what are you speaking for 2020? Well, this is what I'm speaking for 2020, because he knows over that time frame, this is what's going to be taking place. But it doesn't necessarily mean that by the end of 2020, this is what's going to happen, unless the Lord says that. If the Lord specifically says that, now for us, a lot of times, the Lord doesn't necessarily give us dates a lot. There are some people that he does do that for. This week, this is what God's going to do. And, in the next 4 days, this is what God's going to do or whatever. But you can only give what you receive from the Lord, If he hasn't given it to you, then you can't say it. But a lot of times, prophets, they're prophesying the heart of God. They're prophesying, this is what I'm going to be doing in this year. This is what I'm going to be speaking. This is what's going to be happening. I remember when we went into 2019, it was like, was that the year that Lana Vosser said many people are going to be saying dreams really do come true?
It was 2018.
2018. So it was 2018 that she said that we would be at the end of that. Well, one of those years, and I was like, Lord, is that really going to happen? And then the Lord began showing me all these different signs about like, a dream and a home and all these things that we've been believing for. And I'm like, this is amazing. And then the year came and went and none of that happened. And I'm just like, okay, apparently I wasn't hearing from the Lord. Wrong. It wasn't that you weren't hearing from the Lord. It's just the Lord was speaking to me regarding like, no, my dream is to give you a home. That's what this is all about. Isaiah 45:19. I haven't called you out here to say seek me for nothing, but I promised a just reward, right? And he said a joy before us and all these different things, the things that we were speaking the life into, all of that. But it's like the Lord, he speaks from heaven. He speaks from heart. He speaks from a place of like, this is what I'm speaking to you. I just want you to believe in the dream itself. I want you, and it's like, well, Lord, why didn't you just say that? You know what I mean? And it's like, that's a whole nother video. But the bottom line is, whatever the Lord speaks and says, this is what I'm going to be doing, a lot of times what he's doing will overlap in our linear time frame. You know what I mean? It's like for us, we began the pregnancy process in the beginning of January, but then that went way past a natural timeline. And then after that, the Lord was like, hey, it's time. It's time. Just like, hey, it's time to go to the hospital, right? Time to deliver, right? So at that moment, that pregnancy part was over. You know, you're not sitting in a hospital going through labor and delivery and being like, how many weeks are you? That doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You're getting ready to deliver a thing, if I can speak. But that pregnancy process, how long did that take? I mean, that was longer than a natural birth, right? Or a natural. It just took a long time. You can't take a physical time frame and apply it to the picture that the Lord's giving you. You know, a lot of times God says, oh, it's a pregnancy promise process, you know, so it's going to be like, so we naturally think, oh, well, that's like 9 months, 10 months, 40 weeks, something like that, right? And you can't do that. You know, God gives us pictures in order to, God gives us pictures in order for us to relate and have relationship with what he's doing. And now we come here to the delivery room. You know, and we get all these visions. Now here's where it gets real tricky. Watch this. We get all these pictures of, you know, a doctor coming in and checking on us. And I was like, God's like, he's feeding us with like, this is what's happening. I need you to know this is what's happening. And I'm like, okay. We're like, okay, cool. And then the last vision I believe I got was like the baby's halfway out. Haven't had one since then. It's like I haven't had one since then. So that makes me think, oh, that was 6 weeks ago. So if the baby's halfway out, then 6 weeks later, the baby should be out, right? See, that's how it messes with you. That is exactly how it happens. Something like that, a thought like that will slip in. But the bottom line is, here we are in this delivery process, and it's just like, okay, well, you clearly can't put a human time frame on the delivery process.
Yeah.
We've been in a delivery process for almost 3 months. Anybody gone through 3 months of labor lately? I mean, you see what I'm saying? And so the word of the Lord as he speaks it is true. But if it overlaps throughout time, then through our earthly time, that's fine, because it's the word of the Lord. You know what I mean? I know I'm simplifying everything that we got, and I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I feel like I'm not doing a good job, but that doesn't necessarily have to be reality just because I'm feeling it. But it's like for example, the journey. God gave us these promises, and this is what I'm going to do. And then as the years have gone by, year after year after year after year, we see actually more and more and more of what the Lord's doing with that in front of us. Even this whole, all right, I'm going to put you in a deep sleep now to it. It's like, that's the Lord. That's the Lord, like doing things. And so when you get to these like end of date, like end of the year, oh, this is the prophetic word for 2021. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, it's the prophetic word for 2021, meaning this is what God's going to be doing during that time. This is what he's going to be stoking. This is what he's going to be building. This is what he's going to be, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, this is renovation week. You know, week 7. This is where we put in the windows. Well, what if week 7 passes and you're still putting in windows? Well, because you still need to get them done. And it's like, well, week 8 is supposed to be about such and such. Well, it is about that, you know, after we finish the windows. Then you see what I'm saying? So it's like God's way of doing things and his time frame of things. It doesn't always match up with the earthly time frame, even if he's speaking to that year. If he's speaking to that year, he knows that what he's speaking will maybe go even through half of the next year. But he's speaking it to encourage us to keep going. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I find it interesting, though, because you were talking about you can't apply, like, the natural time frame to something because, like, the pregnancy promise process. Yeah, well, for us, literally, not. But literally, though, we really did go through, it was basically the equivalent of, like, 41 weeks of pregnancy.
That's true.
And then the Lord came and said, it's time. So I think in some ways, that's what's kind of makes it confusing, because I think the Lord really was very serious about like the pregnancy promise process. Like it's a full 40 weeks, and we went to
40.
like
That's true.
A full like basically 41, and or just shy of it actually. And the Lord's like, hey, it's time, and that really entered us into the transition and into the labor and delivery part of this thing that the Lord is doing. And that's where it gets confusing,
the birth
because
of the
it's
promises.
Like, how can you have a pregnancy promise process that seems to follow natural childbirth process, but then you have a labor and delivery process that doesn't at all follow the way? And so that's where it can get confusing. And I think, though,
it's like, are the weeks now compared to like hours?
Yeah.
Is that the deal?
Are these hours?
Every week is like an hour?
So
I guess. I don't know.
So I just think that overall, though, the heart of what the Lord is saying is still there. He's like, I did bring you through this process of building you up, and even how it goes into with the restoration play. And I think that kind of just shows you, it's like there's this pregnancy promise process, then we started this restoration play, and there's just a lot of overlapping when the Lord is working. There is always just these. I think we showed it one time on our video, but just like, if you imagine plates, and each plate represents a time.
Oh my God!
Like a cycle of time.
They're like cogs in a clock.
Exactly.
There's so many of them, big ones, small ones, and I said big ones and small ones.
You did.
Nope, not editing that part out either. You deserve that little bit of humor. But they're all working together.
Yeah, and so we just have to trust that the Lord is working all of these things together. And I think, a lot of times, as you're going through it, as you're hearing the Word of God, your heart leaps and jumps for certain things to hope, come to pass. But then I think, if anything, I've really have seen, and with what kind of the Lord was showing us even on Friday, on the 1st, it's just like, he really has to be in charge of the time, and we have to be more concerned about what he's speaking than necessarily the timing of everything. Now like you said, though, there are moments when the Lord is speaking a specific time frame, and it has everything to do with that time frame.
But it's the Lord, and it's not you thinking it, and it's like, it can be difficult. I mean, admittedly, right? It can be difficult to hear prophetic words about things, and there's a time frame, and this is what I'm going to be doing in 2020, and by the end of 2019, by the end of 2020, by the end of, and it's like, I don't know about. You know what I mean? And then you get excited, and then it crushes you, and then later on throughout the years you're like, I don't know. And then think, but you can still hope, but then it still doesn't happen, and then you go, okay, well, I'm done hoping for any kind of time frame. I'm done hoping for any kind of time frame. And then the Lord starts speaking to you a ton about time frame. And he starts, here, I'm doing this, and then this week I'm going to be doing this right now. Like, I'm like, Lord, when are you doing that? I'm doing it right now. You mean now, or later now? Are you talking about an overall now? That's like, you're doing this thing now in our nation that's going to take 10 years? You're starting that now? Is that what you mean by now? You know what I'm saying? You really do have to, you really do wonder these things. You ask these things. Even if you don't ask it, you still wonder it. But it's just like, you got to figure it all out. And it's like, you really don't. And it's like, the Lord's like, he keeps you on your toes if you're following him. And he's just like, he keeps you on the toes of trust. So you just got to trust me.
Yeah. Well, and it was really cool because God then, he was talking about all this time frame stuff. And then he brought up the movie First Contact. And it was just really
Contact. It's just called Contact.
Contact.
With Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. And just how, like, he was just showing how, like, the whole story is basically they start receiving these instructions from this alien race, and so they start building.
Well, this is tapping into the whole third dimension, which we live in, versus the fourth dimension, and how does a fourth dimensional being communicate with a third dimensional one and give them the understanding that they need to get closer to them,
Yeah, and so they get all these instructions, and from these aliens or whatever, and they build this machine, and it's actually like a traveling device, and so as they build it, though, they're looking at it and they're seeing it from the perspective of like, okay, where's the safety factor in this machine? Like, we should install a chair in here.
Yeah.
It will really help, because this isn't safe.
You're just going to be standing inside of a ball.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to us. So
going through space. I don't
so
think that's
it
good.
was just this idea of like how, the Lord is speaking to us, and a lot of times it doesn't make sense to us. It's like, but Lord, wouldn't it be better if this was happening at this time, or this is how it should be? I don't really get that. Why are you doing things that way? I don't know. I think we should do it this way, whatever it is. And again, it was just this reminder of like, we can't lean on our own understanding.
Yeah.
And so we have to trust the Lord.
Which is what they did in the movie.
Yes.
They put a chair into this thing. They built a chair in it, and it was terrible.
It didn't need to be there. So
in fact, it made the ride terrible.
Yeah.
Because the chair is shaking, and she's in the chair, and it's shaking. And then as soon as she stepped out of the chair, she realized, wow, I'm like literally motionless.
Yeah, you don't even need the chair. That's why it wasn't in the instructions.
When you follow the instructions and you just step out in faith in what God's doing, it's just like you will see His hand. Not that it won't be turbulent. Trust me, our first couple months here were turbulent. In Nashville, when we moved back in 2018. Or at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
But
so, but it was just really cool because I really liked the whole concept of just what God was trying to show. He's like,
well, it was a whole God time, and we're trying to smush it into 10 minutes, and it's like, how do you do that?
But just how God was just trying to show, he's like, if you could just listen to my instruction, and don't combine it with what you think would be the best. Because it's like, I'm the one that's giving it, and I've thought about everything that you could possibly think about.
Well, and it's a promise. So a promise can't be a promise unless it's fulfilled. Like it's like the weight and value of a promise can only be measured by the one giving it. You know what I mean? And if it's the Lord giving it, you know that it's the Lord, and He's going to give it. Just don't even doubt. It's like, it's going to happen. That's why the enemy attacks, because he knows the Lord is true. And if He's promising you whatever it is He's promising you, that's probably what you're getting attacked on.
Yeah.
Because He's like, wow, the Lord promised you that. He's going to do it. I'm going to try to get you to not receive it. I'm going to try to mess you up or whatever.
Yeah. And so there was just that whole part of it, and then it was really cool too, because in the movie, they've decided, okay, we're gonna do this. It's all ready. Let's go. And so basically, they just have this pod that they drop through these like rotating.
They're like circles.
They're
3 circles, and they're rotating at different speeds.
Yeah, and so they just drop this pod through, and it goes. It basically, on Earth, it goes straight down and hits the ocean, and it's in like seconds.
Yeah.
Like 13 seconds or something like that. But on the inside, Jodie Foster's character, she is experiencing just all this amazing stuff, and basically
it goes on for hours.
It goes on for 8 hours.
And something like that.
Something like that. But it was just like, once again, like how things can appear,
Speaking about time frame.
Yeah. Speaking in time frame, it's like, that's really kind of what miracles are. It's God doing something that might take 8 years in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
That's really kind of what Jesus would do. People are healed. It's God himself doing things that are impossible here on earth.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where that was coming in, of just like, wow, like here again you see where it's like, whoa, that was impossible. How could you be gone for 8 hours? We saw it fall. It was only a few seconds. And
us here in the third dimension, this is what we saw. You can't deny the facts. That's true. I'm not trying to deny the facts. I'm just telling you what happened to me. I went on a journey. I was gone for a long time. And it's like they were trying to dispute it and argue it, right? But in the end, it was like you realize, yes, we saw in our dimension that she was gone. She just, boom, it dropped. It was a fail. It was ruined. It didn't work. It was only like 4 or 5 seconds that her ball dropped, but the camera, because she was recording everything, the camera recorded like hours of static in like a couple seconds.
Yeah.
And it was just like, clearly there's evidence that something went on, something happened that's beyond our understanding, beyond our ability to understand. And it's like, why would you think that you're not going to have things that are beyond your ability to understand when you're getting information from an alien source? I mean, God is an alien. I mean, come on, seriously. When you think about it, God is he's a being that is outside of everything. You know what I mean? It's just like he has no end and no beginning. How do you relate to that? How can you share memories with, what I'm saying? It's like, that's as good as Alien. You know what I'm saying? That's when you think about aliens in movies and stuff like that, they're always higher level intelligence and all that stuff. Why are they so high level intelligence and every time they come to Earth, they want to destroy us? Side note. Anyway.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just like God can just, he's bigger. He's just bigger than we understand.
Yeah.
And
so I guess for me, ultimately, like with the Lord just kind of bringing up all of the time frame stuff that he was talking about, it was just once again like recentering and saying like, you know what, the times really are in the Lord's hands. He is the creator of time. Time is not going to stop him from doing what he said he's going to do, how he's going to move and work in our life.
Well, and then what, Psalm 75:2, we just made a couple videos ago where the Lord, he was just saying, and the proper time has come. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then you know what the Lord did? It's like the proper time has come for him to execute justice and all that. And it's like, that's what he's saying. That's what's happening. The proper time has come. Now, what does that mean? Well, you got to get revelation from the Lord on what that means, because back in May 2017, when I got that word, it's time for everything to be reversed. Everything that was going on around me that time and everything that was coming up in my spirit, it's time for everything to be reversed, had everything to do with the promises were still waiting to be fulfilled. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. But you know what? As you continue going, see, the scripture says you will reap a harvest if you continue and you do not give up. You will see the glory of God if you continue to believe. And as you continue to go through the process, I realized like the Lord's like, all of that was just the beginning. I was like, I was talking about now. I am doing it now. You know what I mean? But now we got to start breaking up floorboards and tearing down old piping and but Lord, I thought we were going to the house. I thought we were doing the thing. The promises. It's like, I am. You just got to see it. You got to trust me. I am doing that now. It's just, there's so much to do. See, because before that, I wasn't even touching it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even on the work site. I was doing something else completely. But now it's time to go do these promises. Let's go. And you go to this. It starts out totally different than what you think it will start out. So when the Lord says, and the proper time has come, that's what he means. And so you got to keep pressing in to the Lord to get revelation and insight on what he's saying and doing. And what does that mean when you say the proper time has come? You know what I mean? And how long will this proper time last?
That's a good question.
Because the now reversing thing that you began, I believe you began it right when you spoke it. But man, it's been going on now for like forever. Seemingly forever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, like you said, like the proper time has come. So we shall see
for executing justice.
Like, what that means.
That could be, God could be speaking about the next 9 years. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I saw a prophetic word recently, just a thumbnail. It says, God says you got 9 years. And I knew it was from like Rig Nation. And I've watched some of his stuff before. And I mean, I definitely respect him as a prophetic voice for sure. Not that God has us in front of him listening to his stuff, but I just saw that. And sometimes that's all you need to do. Sometimes just God will give you a little, here, take that. That's all you need. And I'm like, whoa. It makes me want to watch it. But it's like, you never know, like, what is God speaking as far as time is concerned. Mm-hmm. Unless he reveals it, you just don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like, but that not knowing, now why does the Lord do that? What does the not knowing do for you? Well, it's a tester to see, are you going to lean on your own understanding and go third dimensional and go time frame, and this is the way things normally go, so this is how God's going to do it? Or are you just going to go turn to the tree of life and go, okay, Lord, what are you saying? And get your revelation directly from him. He does it on purpose. God is good. First of all, he is love. First of all. There's more than one first in the kingdom. And then it's like, and so you know that like, he uses it on purpose to grow us, to mature us, to draw us closer to himself. This lack of knowledge and lack of understanding, he uses it to actually draw us into a place to see, can we handle the greater understanding that he actually wants to give us.
So that's really kind of just with like the time frame and everything. But yeah, like God just really, I don't know, for me personally, I feel like it is kind of hard to express like exactly what God was showing, but I know that it really helped my heart as far as like, okay, like just seeing things differently, seeing that, you know, time frames can overlap. And then really God started going into talking about just 2020 as far as like what we shared in our last video about, it's like, yes, it was a year of preparation, and now you are prepared.
Yeah.
So now we can get ready, we can move forward and just continuing through the process of what God is doing in our lives.
Don't get to the end of the oil and spices and think, oh, well, nothing happened, so I guess we're done. I guess maybe we weren't hearing. Maybe this, maybe that. Like, no, you're right where you need to be.
Yeah.
Keep believing, keep going, you know?
Yeah. And I think ultimately, too, like, you know, because there are times when you hear from the Lord and you go ahead and you're like, all right, Lord, I believe you're saying this. Or there's times when maybe you're not hearing, but you think it's the Lord, you know, and it can be 100%. Confusing. But I think ultimately it's like God just like, even all of those things, it's almost like you can have like this, you know, you get extra debris on like, I don't know, there's going to just be like extra clutter or something like that. But it's like, ultimately it doesn't,
like noise of the soul.
It doesn't stop the Lord from moving you where you're going.
That's right.
And then ultimately God can just brush all of that away. And, you know, because for me personally, it was just like, well, Lord, there are some questions. You know, there were times when I really believed that I was hearing something about, you know, especially with time frame. And it's like, okay, well, if you remove the time frame, is what the Lord was speaking still true? And, you know, most of the time it's like, yes, it is still true.
Can I share that?
Yeah.
There was I think we were still man, this was like back in 2019. 2019.
The forgotten year.
Inside joke. Anyway, in 2019, the Lord, you know, I'm wrapped up in time frame at this point, and I'm just like, or maybe I wasn't. I can't even remember all the details. I just know the Lord showed me like he took some plates again, some paper plates. He said, Devin, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take like 7 paper plates and just put them out there, right? And I want you to draw a ruler line between each one of them, right? And I knew that each line, each ruler between one plate and another represented a different time frame, you know? And he's like, this is how things are going to happen, okay? And then the Lord was like, now what I want you to do is I want you to take all the the rulers out, all the little sections of time frame. Take them all out. What do you have left? And I was like, well, it's just got the promises, I guess. He's like, that's right. Whether you put the time frame in it or not, the promises are still there. You can't take the promises out. Mm-hmm. If you can take the promises out, then it's not really a promise. Mm-hmm. Unless you blow it so bad, a la Saul, like Saul did, King Saul did, or something like that. But it's like, it's like that doesn't apply to me, so he doesn't need to speak that. Mm-hmm. He's like, the time frame, whether you put the time frame in or take the time frame out, yes, these things are going to happen in time, and there's a time and there's a process and all that stuff. But it's like, if you took the time frame out, that would help you. Mm-hmm. It would help you to focus on, look at what's still left. The promises, the word of God, what he spoke, it's still there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter that you've come into 2019 now and things didn't happen the way you thought. That doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. What I'm speaking to you matters. Mm-hmm. And it's still there, fresh, ready. Yeah. Like, I'm working on it. I'm doing it. Yeah. For the 167th time, I am faithful. Yes. It's like, and I'll see you at the next 400 times, because you probably need to tell me that many times. I know. Today.
We'll probably have to keep hearing the message over and over again. Yeah. But yeah, so it was just like the Lord he was just trying to encourage, because I think, especially when you come to these moments where, you're transitioning from one year into a new year. Mm-hmm. I think those are huge moments where, not just us, but I believe a lot of other people, the body of Christ, you come to these times where it is like, I thought, Lord, you were going to do something by this moment, and it doesn't happen, and it really is an opportunity for the enemy to just come in. And God's like, no, I want to bring some clarity to that. And so it was really awesome. Yeah. And really, again, talking about transition, I really felt like, throughout this week, it was like, okay, talking about being asleep. I'm talking about, okay, speak to the dry bones. Now, okay, you got into the octagon with
your doubt.
With your doubt and your fear and time frame and all of that.
The Lord held your hand up as you held his hand up.
But then, okay, now we've gone into this new year, and I'm speaking to you about the time frame, giving comfort to your heart. And after that, God was really starting to just speak to... I really feel like this year there's already been just, when today's only the 5th, and it's already like there's so many things that God is just like bringing up and just like sowing into the heart about just, exceedingly abundantly above, Ephesians 3:20, and just that you're prepared. We've talked about what we talked about in the last video with the kings and the crowns and and all of that
You're getting into future videos now, aren't you?
And so it's like, it was like there was again this transition of just like, all right, let's continue to talk. Let me just start pouring out my heart
into the day.
It really
was.
Yeah.
It's like, here we go. We're done with oil and spices. We're not doing that playlist anymore. Can I share something crazy? I think I was in the 80s or 90s of our season, and I was like, how many of these are we gonna have? And I just, at some point, I got the number 105, and I was just like, wow. Now, why do I know? It had to been, I just remember it being in the 80s or 90s, like episode 80 or 90.
Of Oil and Spices.
Yeah, of Oil and Spices, somewhere in the 80s or 90s, because I remember I'm going like, dude, that's a lot of videos. And now, knowing the time frame of our schedule and kind of like how you move and have us do videos, it's like, that's a long time. That's like a long time to wait. That means like not anything's going to be happening during that time. That's a long way away. And I was like, whatever, Lord, your will be done. And don't you know that Oil and Spices had 105 videos? Mm-hmm. I was like, what? I was like, the Lord knows what he's doing.
See,
he knows how much to put in there.
Well, and I think that's funny too, because it's like, even with the oil and spices, it's like that clearly was actually a spoken word for the year.
Oh, it was.
And it has a time frame on it.
Yeah.
It was for 6 months and 6 months and
yeah.
the full year.
Yep.
And it's like,
it really worked out.
So it actually really was that, because literally from the first, there's just, you can feel the shift in the spirit as it's transitioning, as the Lord is moving. And he's like, now we're into the day. And I'm telling you, it started literally on the first, because the Lord took me. That's the whole testimony of what the Lord did. He's like, I'm taking you from night and I'm putting you into day.
Yep.
And I'm bringing revelation to your heart that is going to just transform how you handle things and how you can go forward. And it really has brought me personally into this place of great hope and all right, like, this is awesome. For me, it really has brought me into the day in that area of my heart. And so it's just like, all right, so that's really what the Lord's doing for this next year, is into the day. And so...
Well, and hold on. We have other visions where, we have like this apple cart vision, and we go through this orchard and we collect these apples, and it's during a dawning or twilight time, and we are in the apple cart and we're going, and we just cross suddenly from this dawning kind of evening type of place into this bright day. There was no transition at all. It was just going boom, boom, done. And see, I was thinking, okay, does that happen? Like, maybe that happens at our, because we, 12 years married now on the 20th of December. I was thinking that's got to be our evening. And so then when we cross over the 21st, that's got to be our day, right? Nope. It's like, but that makes sense if we're talking about time frame. Like, there was 12 years. Now we begin another 12 years. Our 13th year began on the 12/21. So that's into the day. Shouldn't we be having all those apples and all those promises fulfilled before that? And it's just like, all right, well, that didn't happen. It's like, well, maybe the new year is the you see, that's how you think. That's how we think anyway. And it's like, that's how the Lord has grown us to like not think like that. But I mean, you're going to think that way. You're going to have thoughts regarding time frames. So it's like, how do you deal with it? Well, you got to take it to the Lord. I did. I had a little chart and everything. I was like, Lord, is this going to happen or not? What's the date on this whole night and day thing? He never answered. He never answered. But what he did do, well, no, I take that back. He did answer. He didn't answer it the way I was asking. But what he did do is he gave us a prophetic sign. Man, a prophetic word in a picture that it literally showed night and day on the picture. And at night there were fireworks, because that's a part of that whole apples and fireworks. It's all a part of that, going from night to day. And it was just like, whoa, that's amazing. So what was the Lord doing there? The Lord was saying, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. So, I mean, it was undeniably God. We can debate about it all day. I will not be convinced that it wasn't the Lord. It was the Lord. But then here, January 1st comes, and there was no... Because and I went to the Lord, and I wasn't sad. We've already gone through this so many times. By this time, I'm not even mad. I'm not even bothered. And so I go to the Lord. I was like, so Lord, okay, we passed our anniversary. We passed January 1st. What's going on? Now's the moment where maybe you can give me some revelation, so those things don't get in the way. They don't get in the mix, because they're already passed. So they can't be up for debate. They can't speak anymore. They're already gone. And I was like, so what's happening? And I felt like the Lord, right away, the Lord began to speak. And he was just like, Devin, like, when I speak to you, like, like, one picture can mean one thing. Another vision can mean something totally different. And he's like, the apple cart vision and all that, it does speak to your situation. And that when I step in to shake the tree, and you get the apples, you get the desires fulfilled, when that happens, it will be like your life will change dramatically, and you will go from night to day. And right then I was like, wow. Right then I was like, that has nothing to do with a time frame at all, does it? He's like, not really, no. I mean, there is a time frame on it. There is a time when that's going to happen. There's going to come a time when you hold the baby in your hand. Where are you right now? In the delivery room? Anyway, it's like that's going to happen. But that vision in and of itself was speaking to your situation and how I'm going to reverse the situation for you. I'm going to be the one that takes care of you. I'm going to be the one that brings the deliverance. I'm going to be the one that fulfills the desire of your heart, and it's going to be so abundant. You're going to be dropping apples on your way back to the cart. I'm going to literally keep your hands clasped together, Devin, and I'm going to have to lift you up yourself back into the cart because it's like it's going to be so abundant. It's going to be so abundant that you're just going to be blown away. And me and Michelle in the vision are sitting in a cart. We're both loaded up with apples, and we're just looking at each other like, like speechless, like, what? Did this really happen? Like, that's what we're thinking, but we're so amazed we can't even get words out of our mouth. In this vision, and then the Lord's up front in the apple cart, just, told you, just trotting a one-horse cart, and it goes just boom, and it's like it crosses this barrier, this dimensional barrier from night to day. And it was just like, whoa. But before that, we didn't see the day.
Yeah.
You couldn't just look up front. And so if you looked up front, all you would see is night. See, if you looked at the experiment, all you would see is a ball dropping for a couple seconds. But in the spirit, see, God was saying in the spirit, man, you're going to see it. You're going to notice it. It's going to be tangible. You're going to feel it. You're going to know that deliverance, and you're going to be holding it in your hands. And then you're just going to cross into this lifestyle that's just going to be just very, very, very different. But God's like, that's what I've been working on the past 4 years. 2017, 18, 19, 20. I was working on all of this. Well, 2017, 18, 19. Those were certain years, but then 2020, that was that oil and spices year. The 2017, 18, 19, that was the cleaning out of the pipe and getting the pipe ready for the water and the flow that was going to come through it. But God was like, wait, one more year. Let's give it one more year, because then what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna treat the pipe. Ooh, girl, we're gonna treat it. We're gonna treat it with some oil. Give it 6 months of oil. Just let the oil coat the inside of the pipe. And while we're in there, it's going to be bringing about a restoration, a prophetic restoration on 4 different levels. And then at the last 6 months, we're going to throw some spices in there. The oil is enough, but we're going to throw some spices in there because I'm the God of abundance, and I'm going to make you extra special ready. Okay? And then once that's done, ... But yeah, see, so I think that's what. And so during that year, God was like, oil and spices so that you can be presented to the king, which we already talked about in our last video. And it's like, that's where we're at. And so we're going to keep going to see the promise fulfilled. And see, that's another thing. I'm just asking the Lord, should I keep going? He's like, yes, keep going. And he's like, once the promise is fulfilled, guess what happens then? Another clock starts. Once the promise is fulfilled and the desires, once you get married, it's like, boom, okay, now your marriage clock starts. You see? And there's always, it's like, once the promise is fulfilled and the dream happens and the vision begins to take shape, it's like, now a whole new life is starting. And in that life, on the other side of the Jordan, there's going to be giants and all that stuff. The Lord gave me a word. He's like, there are going to be giants in the land, and it's going to be you. But that's a whole nother video. If I need to find it for somebody, I'd try. But he said that. So when God's speaking, it's just, you just got to trust him. And it's like, the times are in his hand. I think it's in Psalm 31:15. But, God is precise and perfect. But we prophesy in part and know in part. We got to know that. And so that's why you got to trust, because you're only going to know certain parts. And you just got to take the part that you're given and say, may it be done unto me according to your word. And the Lord will say, well, may it be done unto you according to your faith. Because if you want it, I want it. Let's go get it. And so it's like, that's what this whole journey has been about for us. Crying out to the Lord so much in 2015 and 2016. And God's like, I've heard you. Come on, let's go. Turned out exactly the way we thought it wouldn't. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, but it's been a journey. I would not trade anything for it. I mean, 4 years is a long time to go through this whole 4-year priesthood type thing, you know. But it's like, I wouldn't trade anything. God's like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to prepare you. I'm going to prepare you as I'm preparing my people to go into, to be the people I want them to be. To be the shepherds I want them to be. That's another video coming this year. But yeah, so I think that's it for me. I think my faucet's tapped.
Well, I think that's all that we have for you guys today. I know it was a lot. I feel like there's just so much that the Lord has covered over this last week. But I do pray that you guys
It was an intense scene. There was a lot going on. 3 transitions, a lot of stuff going on, you know. God's like, I got to stuff the end of this civil, whatever. Got to stuff the end of this year with some good stuff. Because we're going to keep going because I still got my stuff to do.
Yeah. But yeah, we just pray that you guys are blessed and pray that, you know, that the Lord would just bring breakthrough over your own hearts and lives, especially if you're struggling with the doubt and the fear or just the time frame of things. Just pray that the Lord would just bring forth just His light into your life. And I'm truly am just like, there is a hope in my heart that only God is able to bring to me that I haven't had for a long time, as far as just in regards to the time frame of things, and just knowing like He is going to do what He said He's going to do, and
He is doing it,
and He is moving. He is always on the move, and He knows everything that needs to take place. And I just believe like that is so true. You know, I'm reminded right now, I know this is a long video, I'm sure.
Who cares? Girl, don't worry about the time frame. If they came this far, then they must need it.
Yes. So, but I'm just reminded of, I had a vision of Jesus being, and we talked about being on the party bus, and we are still there. We are still very much on this party bus with the Lord.
You still got to sleep on the party bus, but it's still a party bus.
But it was just like the idea that the Lord said right at the beginning. He's like, I'm the driver of the bus. And He's like, I have the itinerary. Meaning, what is an itinerary? It is the set times and events that are going to take place. And so God's like, I have the time frame. I have the events, when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. Just trust me. Enjoy this bus. Enjoy this time that you are following me, that we're working together. We're going together on this journey. And just like have fun with what I'm speaking, have fun with what I'm doing. And the Lord really has given us that tangible, like, hey, you know, sign of just playing games and doing puzzles, and all of those things has been a part of our life really since that time started,
to this day,
which was at the very end of November. It was right before Thanksgiving, actually, and so it's like that's what the Lord has been doing. But I just feel like it was just this reminder, like, know that Jesus, He is the driver of the bus. And He is taking you right to where you want to go, but just trust Him in the timing and the way that the events happen. Because I think that, you know, if you want event, you know, the final outcome, but the Lord's like, I have all these amazing things that I want to give to you. I want you to receive, but all you're waiting for is that final thing. You're not going to enjoy everything that the Lord has to give, and you'll probably be afraid that He's not going to give it to you. And it's just like,
and then everything that happens is like, ooh, is this the final thing?
And it's not. And what's going to happen is there's disappointment.
We're at a stop. Oh, is this the final stop? Is this the final stop? Oh, that looked like a Burger King. Oh, I'm not interested.
And so I just believe like the Lord just remember, like, I have your hearts. I know your desires, and just trust me as I lead you, because He's like, He is fulfilling promises. He is fulfilling desires of the heart, and it is in His time, and He has it. It's already planned. He has it planned, and He is just, let's just keep going with Him and what He's doing. So with that, I think we really are.
You do realize that was an addendum.
I know.
It was an addendum.
But
welcome to the Devin and Michelle
Addendum
LaVore. The Addendum Show welcomes you.
But anyway, so we just pray that you guys are blessed, and until next time, we will see you later.
Love you guys.
Bye.